Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into some source material about an online school. It's called Advanced People.
That's right. And think of this as your guided tour through these documents. Our goal here is really to unpack what this school is offering, who it's for, the mechanics of it, and what they claim makes them different. We'll pull out the key bits for you.
Exactly. We're going straight into the details provided right here in the material, just trying to get a clear view of what this opportunity actually is.
Okay.
So let's start right at the top. Based on the source, what fundamentally is Advanced People?
Well, looking at the source, it defines Advanced People pretty clearly as an online school. And its purpose is quite specific, preparing engineers.
Okay, engineers. And focus on a particular industry, right?
Absolutely. The source really highlights their focus is the oil and gas sector, and the stated aim is prepping engineers for roles, both within Kazakhstan and, interestingly, internationally, too.
Right, so a specialized focus. Now, the document mentions something about their approach, a distinctive feature early on.
Yes, they use this term SOAR, which, translates to distinctive feature or special characteristic. And what they seem to be emphasizing is a real focus on practical skills, like the kind of skills employers are genuinely looking for.
Okay.
The material suggests it's about taking that theoretical knowledge and making it directly applicable on the job.
That practical angle definitely seems like a core theme here. So, thinking about that, who exactly is this course for, according to the source material we have? Who are they targeting?
The description's quite specific, actually. First off, it targets individuals who already have higher education in a relevant engineering field, that is.
You need that degree, that foundation already.
Okay.
What else does the source say makes an ideal candidate?
Well, it also specifies needing English proficiency, enough to, understand technical documentation.
Right, which makes sense given the international angle you mentioned. Technical English is crucial.
Exactly. And then there's the experience level.
Yes. What about that?
The source points to individuals who have minimal work experience in engineering. So it really looks like it's aimed at bridging that gap, between finishing your studies and actually landing that first or maybe second proper job in the industry.
So if you're listening, you're an engineer, you've got the degree, you handle technical English okay, but maybe you haven't got years of experience under your belt. This document suggests this program is sort of tailor-made for that profile.
Yeah, it seems designed to get you job ready.
Which kind of leads us neatly to the next point.
Yeah.
What does the source actually promise you'll get out of this? What are the main benefits?
The material highlights two key outcomes. First, getting a full understanding of what engineers actually do day to day, the field work.
Let me pass the textbook stuff.
Okay. And directly connected to that, the second outcome is increased confidence, specifically in job interviews. The document actually says you'll learn what engineers really do in these big international companies.
Learning the practical side, yeah, that's huge. And the source also specifically mentions helping you pass interviews and creating a professional resume. It feels very geared towards that employment outcome.
It really does seem to be. Now, the source also gets into why someone might choose this particular school, Advanced People. What reasons does it lay out?
Well, one big point they highlight is the instructors. The document says they're experts with over 10 years of experience on large international projects. That's quite a claim about who's teaching.
Yeah, and having instructors with that kind of deep, real-world experience definitely ties back into that practical skills focus they mentioned earlier, doesn't it?
It does. And the way they structure the learning, as described in the source, seems to support that too.
How so?
Well, the material mentions practical tasks and tests. They're included after each module, to help reinforce what you've just learned. It sounds like an active way to learn, not just passive listening.
Okay, yeah, applying it as you go.
And then there's this feature that the source really seems to emphasize quite a bit. The simulation of a real project.
Ah, right. That sounds pretty important, especially for the target group with, minimal experience. The source says you actually participate in a simulated project. You get assigned roles, responsibilities, just like a real job.
Like a dry run.
Exactly. And crucially, the document explicitly states that this simulated experience, you can add it to your professional portfolio. That seems like a direct answer to that minimal experience issue.
Yeah, that simulation could be really key for making that jump from student to employee. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts a bit. How does the training actually work according to the source? And what courses do they offer?
Okay, the format is listed pretty simply. Online, using Zoom.
Standard enough?
Yeah.
Accessible? What about the time commitment, the schedule?
It's structured for 3 times a week, and the sessions are 1.5 hours each.
Okay. Fairly intensive, but manageable chunks. And how long does a typical course run for?
The duration mentioned is 4 to 5 weeks. It says it depends on the specific course you choose.
Right, so a pretty focused block of time. Now, the source also lists the different specializations they prepare engineers for. There were quite a few, I think.
Yes, it details 7 different areas or directions, as they call them.
Okay, let's quickly run through those based on the document. There's instrument and control engineering. That's KIPIA, right?
Correct. Then a process engineering or technologist NGD,
Got it. Electrical engineering?
piping and mechanical engineering,
Uh-huh. Network engineering?
project management.
And the last one was planning.
That's it. Planning.
So yeah, that seems to cover a pretty wide range of roles you'd find in oil and gas projects, both technical and management sides.
It certainly suggests they're aiming to cover multiple key disciplines within the industry. And interestingly, the source actually gives us a really detailed breakdown for one of them, the module structure for that KIPIA course.
Ah, okay. Let's dive into that then, see how they structure it.
Yeah.
Module 1 is called Project from Scratch. What's involved there?
Right. So this one covers the basics. Project cycles, the different stages, contract types, some project management ideas. The stated result is to give you a general feel for the project environment before you dive deep into the technical stuff.
Okay, laying the groundwork. Then Module 2 jumps into field instruments.
Yeah, this gets technical. It covers instruments for measuring things, pressure, flow, temperature, also fire and gas detectors, control valves, emergency shutdown valves, and key standards like explosion proofing. The goal here is a full understanding of these field devices, but from an engineer's viewpoint.
Right, the actual hardware out there. Module 3 then shifts to control systems.
Here, the source lists things like DCS, PCS, your distributed control and process control systems, and basically the brains of the operation. Also, SIS, the safety instrumented systems, which are vital, F&G systems for fire and gas, and then third-party PLCs, those controllers for other systems like HVAC or compressors.
Okay.
The result they're aiming for is understanding the overall architecture, the networks involved, and the control logic behind it all.
So understanding how it's all monitored and managed. Got it. Module 4 is all about project documentation. What kind of documents does the source mention?
It lists the real essentials, P&IDs, the piping and instrumentation diagrams, kind of the main map, loop diagrams, cable schedules, C&E matrices, that's cause and effect, data sheets for equipment, and other key project documents. The result is about developing skills in, creating, reading, and actually using this documentation effectively.
Yeah, being able to handle the paperwork is critical for any engineer. Okay, Module 5 covers project processes. What's that about?
This one's about the workflows, really. Things like management of change, or MOC, how you handle changes safely. FAT and SAT, that's factory and site acceptance testing for equipment. AJZOP, studies for safety analysis, and SALEL validation for safety systems. The outcome here is understanding all these processes that sort of surround the core technical work on a project.
Right, the procedures and safety protocols. Okay, so after all those technical modules, the focus seems to shift a bit. Module 6 is listed as resume writing.
Yeah, quite practical. Directly focused on crafting a professional resume. And the stated outcome is simple: having a resume ready that's designed to actually get noticed by employers.
Tackling the job hunt head on. And then finally, Module 7 is interview preparation.
Right. This includes doing a trial interview. And the result is, being ready to successfully navigate the interview process.
So the KIPIA program, at least as it's laid out in this source, seems to follow a logical path.
Yeah.
Start with the big picture, dive into the specific tech, learn the documentation and processes, and then finish with very direct, practical job-seeking skills.
And beyond this standard course structure, the source also mentions different pricing tiers or tariffs, including a premium option that adds mentorship.
Ah, yes, it lists a standard and more premium. And that premium one has this extra mentorship piece. What does that involve, according to the document?
Well, the mentorship described includes several elements, like defining your specific goal, maybe a target position or company, then developing a personalized study plan just for you. They also mention assisting with actually distributing your resume and tailored preparation for interviews.
Okay, so it sounds much more hands-on, more personalized support, focused specifically on landing a job. And the ultimate result promise for that premium tier is, well, it's quite something.
Yeah, the source puts it very directly. Job offer in your email.
Okay, wait a second. Job offer in your email. That's a very specific and frankly, bold claim for an educational program tier. Does the source material here give any more detail, like how they guarantee that, or what happens if that offer doesn't just appear?
That's a fair question. The document, this specific excerpt, focuses mainly on listing the services within that mentorship. The goal setting, the plan, the resume help, the interview prep. It implies these actions are the means to that end result. It doesn't explicitly spell out guarantees or, say, contingency plans within the text we have here.
Understood. So it states the ambitious goal, but the mechanics of guaranteeing it aren't detailed in this particular source snippet.
Exactly. It definitely highlights the high expectation they're setting for that premium level.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together for you, the listener. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive into the source material?
Well, what emerges from these documents is a picture of a training program that seems hyper-focused. It's about giving engineers practical, job-ready skills, specifically for the oil and gas industry. It heavily emphasizes the experience of its instructors and uses this structured, project-based approach, leading right up to direct job search support.
Yeah, so if you're an engineer, maybe looking to specialize or perhaps switch into oil and gas or just, make yourself more competitive, the details in this source point to a program that's explicitly trying to bridge that gap, the one between university knowledge and what employers are actually looking for on day one.
Yeah.
There's a very strong emphasis on career outcomes.
It really seems geared towards getting someone with maybe less practical experience up to speed and into a job relatively quickly.
It does. So as we wrap up our exploration of this particular source material, maybe here's a final thought for you to consider, drawing just from what we discussed from the document.
Okay.
What does it suggest about the current skills gap in the oil and gas sector that a school like this would put such a heavy, explicit emphasis on practical skills, on project simulation, and even on things like resume writing and interview practice?
That's interesting. It really seems to underscore just how much value employers in that sector must be placing on, well, demonstrable hands-on ability, the capacity for new hires to actually do the job, to contribute quickly, rather than just having the theoretical background.
Right. It makes you think about where the real pinch points are in terms of hiring and skills demand in that industry.
Exactly. It highlights that premium on being job ready from the get-go.
And that concludes our deep dive into this material on advanced people.